right, Hannah, this video is for you. So I'm going to go through those two constructor response questions, and I think I might know where you're having your issues. So for me, when I was in high school and I read these constructor response questions or word problems, the biggest thing for me was I didn't know what information they were giving me, and so I didn't know what I needed, what formulas I needed. And that's why I'm going to go over really quickly with you the 4 different types of problems you're typically going to see. Okay, so the first one that you're probably going to see most often, that we use most often in our classes, is slope-intercept form. And I know you know a slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, but the m, your rate of change, and your starting point are going to be your b. So these are the situations that the word problem usually gives you a starting point, something that's not going to change, like an admission fee to get into a fair, or the height of a plant when it was first potted before the years of growth, something like that. You know, the admission to get into somewhere before you start paying for a ride, anything like that initial starting point, and then also the rate of change, that would be the m. That's when you would use slope-intercept. All right, the second form that you're going to see a lot is standard form. And that looks like this. It's ax plus by equals c. And you would plug in numbers for the a, the b, and the c here. And typically, that's going to be a problem that relates to different things. Most often, you'll see, you know, they charge children $2 for admission and adults $5 for admission for this and this. Or you're potting, or you're planting plants, and daffodils cost this much and sunflowers cost this much, or just where you have 2 different costs or 2 different amounts, and then they usually give you a total equals a total. So C is typically a total. The next one that you're going to see is point slope. So this is when you're given a rate and like a sample point. Let me write down point slope form for you. So that would be y minus y1 equals m times a quantity x minus x1. And you fill in the y1, this m, and the x1. So this is when you're given a rate and a sample point. I'm not sure if either of these two are examples of that. I forget what the other problem was, but we'll look at it. An example of this might be, they're told you that you're charged $5 per ride if you're going to the fair. And after 12 rides, your total cost for the day was this. That's usually like they give you the rate, and then they give you, you know, that sample point where it's the total cost and how many rides they actually rode. The last one is 2 points. I don't have an exact formula for this, but I have a couple. So whenever you're given 2 points, you're going to need your slope formula, because you're going to have to solve for that yourself, which is a little bit different than the other forms. And that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then typically I would plug the m and then either one of your points into point slope form. But really for me, what I struggled with was reading the information they gave me and translating in my mind into one of these. Like, which one of these what information are they actually giving me? So let's look at this. And I know this is the answer key, so it's hard because you kind of see it. But let's see if we can make sense of what the information they're giving us is. So the diagram below shows 5 identical bowls stacked one inside the other. So we know that the height of one bowl is going to be 2 inches. The height of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bowls is going to be 5 inches. In case you didn't see that, it's written right here for you, which is you're very lucky with that. So we're sitting here and we're like, okay, how does that help me? Honestly, whenever they have 2 different things like this, hopefully your mind starts to jump to 2 points. They have it kind of written out. Even though there's not a number here, which is a little bit confusing, they have it kind of written out as 2 things and 2 things. And they're even split up. So hopefully, you know, the height of one bowl is going to be 2 inches. Okay, the height of a stack of bowls, which is, we have to count them 5, is going to be 5 inches, okay? Hopefully that makes sense to us. So we have those 2 ordered pairs. Well, what do we do with them? Well, I'm going to write my work up here, and my thumb has been messed up a little bit, bothering me, so I apologize if my writing is a little bit sloppy over here. But So the height of one bowl is 2 inches. So 1, 2. This is the height. I always like to write what these numbers mean, because when I go back and try to make sense of the rest of the problem, it really helps to know what the x and the y represent. And since it's an ordered pair, it represents our x and y. So the height of one bowl is 2 inches. So this must be number of bowls. There's my first ordered pair. Height of a stack of bowls, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 of them. Is 5 inches. So like I said before, when you're given 2 points, the first thing we need to do is find our m, our slope. So we're going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. And we're going to plug it into our slope formula. So we get 5 minus 2 over 5 minus 1. 5 minus 2 is 3, 5 minus 1 is 4. So we've got that much, we've got our m. Next, I can plug it into my point-slope form. I know that because I have a point and I have a slope. In fact, I have 2 points, and that's how I got my slope. So I'm going to use a black marker here if it works. I'm going to plug in the 3/4 right there. And then I'm just going to use this ordered pair, because it seems easy to me. The x1 would go here, y1 would go here. I need to distribute and see what I get. So we have y minus 2 equals 3/4 x minus 3/4. And that gives us, that almost gives us our final equation, because I'm going to write an equation that is y equals in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So y equals 3/4 x plus 1 1/4. I don't know if Mrs. Kraft would want it in an improper fraction, but either way, you can find that out as well. It'd be 5/4. So then we wrote the equation. Wonderful. It looks like it has 1 1/4 there. Let's scroll down and see what else they want you to find. All right, letter B asks us to identify what the x and y represent. Describe what the x and y variables represent. We kind of already wrote it up here. I don't like to read through a problem too many times. That's why as I write things, I kind of leave myself little reminders. So I already wrote earlier that x represents the number of bowls, and that's what she has right here. And then the y is going to represent the height, and she wrote the total height of the bowls. And then she was also very specific, and she identified her units. So that's something you want to be aware of and make sure you do, because obviously it's something she looks for. And then what was the height in inches of a stack of 10 bowls? Well, now that we have this equation, we can plug in whatever we want. We just need to know where to plug it in. Since x is my number of bowls, then I'm going to plug in 10 for this x, and I want to 10 bowls. So I'm going to plug in 10 right there, and then you would just solve. Once you multiply here and add that, you'd be good to go, and you'd be done. And I think she found that answer to be 8 3/4 inches, and that's what I was thinking. All right, pretty good on the first one. Let's go to one more problem. Let's see what type of information they give us in this one. Okay, so before we even look at anything else, I'm going to read this to us so we can try to figure out what type of information they gave us and what type of equation is set up. So, get rid of all this. The Valley High School dance team wants to buy new equipment. To help raise money, the team needs to sell hot dogs at the home sporting events. To start the fundraiser, the dancers need $200 worth of equipment and supplies. They plan on selling each hot dog for 75 cents. Okay. Well, I definitely know we have a rate. The reason I know we have a rate or an M, a slope, is because of this word each. Each and per, those are like huge cues to me. And say, hey, there's my rate of change. There's my slope. So I know that each hot dog is going to cost 75 cents. So they're giving me that. And that's money in my pocket. However, to start the fundraiser, the dancers need $200 worth of equipment. That's money out of your pocket. So you need to consider that is, you're starting in the negatives. Because you have to buy that equipment in order to do the fundraiser. So talking about starting in the negatives, they gave you a rate and a starting point for this problem. So they told you your rate was 75 cents, so your total is gonna be 75 cents times the number of hot dogs you sell, obviously. So my X is gonna represent number of hot dogs. Now we're already starting out in the negatives with the $200 worth of equipment. So that's gonna be right at the end. If you thought about it, they're not really eating two different things. You know, they didn't give you two different prices like hamburgers and hot dogs, so it couldn't be standard form. They didn't really give you a rate and then a point. They just told you you're starting in the negative because you need $200 worth of equipment. So you really have to think about what that means also, because they don't just tell you it's going to be a negative. They don't give you 2 points because they gave you the rate, so you wouldn't have to find a rate. So this one also, once you think about it, it's kind of easy to tell that this is a slope-intercept type problem. So now we have our equation. We know our total fundraiser funds. So I'll make that the total funds. Is equal to 75 cents per hot dog times the number of hot dogs minus the $200 that they had to spend on that equipment. Let's continue down and see what else they ask you. All right, so here they give you a table. All you'd have to do there is plug in each one of these numbers for X to solve for Y. So for example, if I plugged in the 0, anything times 0 is 0, Y equals negative 200. So that's how she got the negative 200. You would want to go down and put 100 in there, solve for that. You run your 200, and that's how you fill in all of these slots. How many hot dogs would they have to sell to break even? All right, well, to break even, if they already spent $200, to break even, 0 equals 0.75 x minus 200. To break even, you gotta get rid of that 200. You gotta make that $200 back. So you're gonna add 200 on both sides. And then all you have to do is divide by 0.75 to get the x by itself. And you find your answer to be 267 hot dogs. And that's about it. And I hope this helped you. I hope that thinking about what information is given to you when you read these problems helps you also. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If you have any other specific examples off of that Keystone Practice packet, please shoot me an email and let me know. I'd be happy to make another video. If not, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you soon.